because it's real easy for us as we're talking to turn away from the microphone,
Yeah.
and you'll hear that you turned away. So it's a nice little reminder.
Okay.
Is it too loud for you guys? For your,
No,
good
you guys
for
are
me.
good?
it's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I feel loud.
You feel loud? Well, good. I want you to speak loud too, man. They need to hear you on the West Coast.
We need to match your volume. Your volume's like just right. Am I too quiet? I'm gonna have to.
No, you know what? If you are, I'll pump it up. Go ahead.
Let's see.
How's that?
That's good.
Better?
That's
Okay.
good.
Okay, good.
Let's see if I can like fix this real quick. It's like a shadow on my face.
Oh, the shadow.
I'll just move it back there, maybe.
We'll see. Maybe if I'm. It's weird because I don't want to be talking
Yeah,
to you
yeah,
like
no,
looking this way. You know.
Maybe we got one that's a little bit later, but yeah, but this would be fine.
Okay, great.
We'll digitally remove
Before
it.
and after.
Okay.
There we go.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Sweet. And
It's
then,
gonna be fun.
we're recording here. All right, whenever you're ready.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go, guys. Yo, this is Staff Sergeant Mac. We're here in Denver, Colorado for an Unstoppable Growth event hosted by Big Green DAO. And we're sitting on the Power Plant podcast. My co-host, Mr. Lucky, isn't with us today. He's, in fact, right outside the door politicking. You know how it is in the nonprofit world. You got to connect, you got to network, and that man is an expert at it. But today, I have two amazing guests on this little trip that we're about to take. And again, I just want to reiterate, like, this is a time of storytelling. And I don't know if you were here for the storytelling event on Sunday, or I'm sorry, was it Monday? Tuesday. Tuesday night.
Monday night.
Monday night.
Monday night,
Yeah.
right. Dang, you'd think I would know that because I was there. With the weekend, it seems like pretty long right now. But this is our opportunity to share our stories, kind of talk about the DAO. I want to get that in your mind, like how can you leverage and utilize this particular opportunity. Right now, this is a real life event, right? We're face to face. We're not a website. You know, we're not talking on Slack. Like, this is a human to human moment, which I feel. I mean, for me, I feel like COVID kind of made me realize, how valuable this face to face time is.
It's so great to feel that energy.
Yeah, exactly. You can't feel that in a Zoom meeting. You know what I mean? But being in these spaces, you can really look into someone's eyes, into their face, and feel their words. But please, introduce yourselves.
Okay, well, first I just want to say I've seen people coming in and out of the recording booth, and I see like a lot of elders who've been doing this work for a long time in their communities, and I'm honored to be part of the interview lineup to share a little bit about our community's story. So my name is Kris de la Torre. I'm the Associate Director for Cultivate Collective. We are a 6-acre community hub on the southwest side of Chicago, and we are home to the Academy for Global Citizenship, which has been in the scene a little bit longer than Cultivate Collective, but we'll get into that.
Cool. The shy. Okay.
Nice to be here. My name is Aamar Khwaja. I'm based out of Austin, and I run a company, a startup called ModGarden. We help people grow food indoors, both commercially and for residences. So I've created a product called Tiny Farm that is, think of it like a Keurig for fresh salads.
You know, I hear the word on the street is that your particular growing with your method and what you have going on increases the nutritional value of that particular vegetable or fruit is like 20, 30, I'm going to say, you said it best, and I'm going to quote you on this one. You said that our grandfather's apples were 10 times as nutrient as they are today. Which blows my mind because the apples today are like 12 times as big as, you know, our grandfather's apples, but they do not have the nutritional value that they once had.
We need 12 oranges to our grandfather's one, yes.
That is wow.
And they do seem to have like twice the amount of sugars, so it seems like maybe somehow we've like teetered in one direction where maybe less nutrient dense, but sugars are really high.
Well,
which
we
is
all know what sugar does to
probably
the
the wrong
mind.
direction for breeding, but you know.
Well, you know, that sugar has a particular component to it that hits us in a certain area of our brain.
I've heard about that. I think that's true. That's
that gets us a little addicted to it. But for you, my next question for both of you, and we got time, right? There ain't no pressure here, okay, on time, because this is all about storytelling. For each of you, what is your vision of your org? Like, what do you see happening with the next year?
Do you want to?
Sure, happy to jump in. So Cultivate Collective is in a really interesting moment. I mentioned Academy for Global Citizenship has been operating for 15 years on the southwest side of Chicago, and for our next year, we've had like these big leaps in the work that we do. After 15 years of providing K through 8 education in an IB program that really centers sustainability, gets kids outside, very experiential learning focused, we were able to realize like a decade's worth of work to move on to a brand new campus. I mentioned the 6 acres on the southwest side of Chicago. The facility is really something special, and the idea was that if we could build an energy and water net positive public school on the southwest side of Chicago with 2+ acres of production farming, space for students to learn in the garden, so they have their own hands-on space where we can do things that are a little more experimental, low risk. Kids can design their garden spaces while still having production that feeds into the school cafeteria program, which is a federal school food program, by the way. We're looking towards a plant-forward menu. All of that has happened in the last year. We moved in last September, actually.
That is fresh.
So almost exactly a year ago. Kids are in the building, we've lived in the building, we've got gray water catchment systems, we're using to flush our toilets, photovoltaics, we're able to give energy back to the grid in Chicago, geothermal wells that regulate the temperature. It goes on and on. It's a really amazing feat that we're in the building. And there's no rest for the weary. So in the next year, with the 6 acres we have, we're looking at expanding into a phase 2 facility that would offer workforce development and green sector jobs, so that whatever happens after that K through 12 career, there are some options for our community members. And it's important, the geography is important, because our community is situated in the middle of a very industrialized part of Chicago. So to have this facility, to have infrastructure that can also be used as a learning tool from pre-K all the way through young adulthood is really important for our community. So once we get this phase 2 building up and running, we'll be able to host lifelong learners in green sector work. So that's work on the photovoltaics, the geothermals, apprentices on the sustainable farm.
Solar energy, all that.
All that. So that's, that's the next year.
Dang, I'm a little speechless. That's fresh. I'm gonna circle back around to some stuff for you.
I'm not sure I can top that, but here goes. We are a startup. We initially started off as a direct-to-consumer product, but we've since switched to more of a commercialized model. So we grow food indoors, as I mentioned. We're currently we're running a paid pilot with the Omni Austin. And what that means is that we are growing on premises for that hotel restaurant. So we're working directly with the chefs. They're curating the greens that we grow. Right now we're managed to greens. And we're growing in the kitchen, in the back of the kitchen, and then presenting the trays as they come out. While that's happening, we have our tiny farm is in their dining room. So when patrons come in, when diners come in, they can see that there's something different going on in terms of the food production coming out of that kitchen, at least in part. And so the head of the food and beverage department there takes the opportunity to speak to his patrons and says, we're growing on premises, we're growing fresh food that's organic, grown in soil that's meticulously curated. So that's our first pilot. We are opening another restaurant down the street with a celebrity chef who worked at Noma, the #1 restaurant restaurant in the world. And when he
You were
called,
so humble. I don't think you're having any trouble telling us about your next year. You played that real cool.
That was nice.
This is awesome.
and so he, when he asked to see me, he said, "Come over and see me. I'm interested in what you're doing, and bring some of your stuff over." And when I brought some of our greens over, he was like, "How do you achieve this taste profile?" I said, "It's because of the soil. We use a living soil. I curate the ingredients." And he said, "How much does it cost?" And I gave him the price, and he was like, "How is it so cheap?" I was like, "Well, my mission is to provide pure food for everyone, no matter where you sit on the economy." So our plans for this week, the rest of this year, is to raise our raise our funding and do 6 or 7 paid pilots
Yeah.
in an elderly community, in school, in another restaurant, and a residential town. So imagine that you're on living in a condo in a residential town, and you walk down to the 3rd floor, quote unquote, 3rd floor communal gardening floor. You pick up your pod right from the tiny grove, which is our larger system. You take it upstairs and you harvest it from living soil at dinner time.
That's cool. Yo, that my mind just exploded when you just said that. Let alone like eating in a restaurant that's like literally in the garden. That is, I love that concept. And how you're saying like how easy it could be to go down. You go down to the, and I mean we got to think about our world is changing, right? Climate change is real. You know, it gets hotter every year. In fact, today it's like 90 degrees here in Denver, Colorado, and like that's in the 80s that was unheard of. So like our world is changing, and we have to think about food and growing food in many ways. And what does that look like? And that's something that I take into the classroom with the students that I work with at Lake Middle School, is like, how are we going to grow food if we're not able to do it like we've been traditionally, right? Because I want to say 2 years ago, we had horrible hailstorms that destroyed a lot of crops here in the plains here of Colorado. And it's like, how can we adapt? We have to adapt. We have to change our behaviors. And like hearing your story and you inventing this new way of like from soil. We're not talking about hydroponics.
No, we're not.
Because, and again, another problem is our soil, is that we have, I want to say here, I know for a fact here in the Great Plains, because we've, chemical dusted stuff, pesticides, threw too much nitrogen in the soil and basically killed it. We've got about maybe 49 to 50 crop rotations left. And after that, like, that's it. We're going to have huge dead zones that we're unable to grow food on. And one of the great balances of that symbiotic system is almost extinct, and that was the great buffalo that ran these plains. And the bacteria from them is what cultivated, this great soil that we have out here. So, like, hearing that's dope. But what, and this is for both of you, how do you see the DAO helping you in your mission as an individual organization? And how do you see being a part of this collective of orgs that are doing this work? Like, how do you see the symbiotic relationship between all of us? And how can we leverage the DAO to not only amplify what you're doing, but get it in a way where, like, we're collectively doing that across the board?
So, my massive transformative mission is to get nutrients into cells. We have a nutrient security problem. We don't have a food security problem. It's a distribution problem, but there's plenty of food out there. What we're doing is we're bringing the farm to urban areas. As cities laid ever expensive concrete, we killed off all life, all gardens that were there. The DAO is going out and training people to grow food, and is creating gardens, edible gardens, across cities and beyond. We're not going, as ModGarden, we're not going to take over growing food. What we're trying to do is we've got a dual, triple, quintuple a component to this, one of them being education. And so what you do outdoors, we do indoors. And so there's a complement right there. And then through education, we would drive the stickiness of those people that are part of the DAO, that have been trained by the DAO to grow food, and we would then continue to support that. So that's...
I see your vision. I see your vision. I see it.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that's really resonated as you both have been speaking is this idea of leveraging technology to teach effectively in very concrete, measurable ways this significance of soil health. Right? This is old knowledge. This is not new technology, but we can marry the two. And I think the DAO is sort of propelling itself kind of along that trajectory of using new technologies to connect people in work that has sustained life on the planet as we've known it up to this point, and that's very important. And I think there's something really critical about thinking in these like rhizomatic networks, which is a decentralized model, and I think that is inherent in the DAO model, right? We're bringing together all of these operators from across the country who are experts in their place and their communities, who understand the unique needs and challenges that their communities face, and then we are working together to future dream something better for all of us that also has tremendous and critical impacts on our environment. So thinking about how we stay in conversation with one another and what those tools are is just as essential as the work happening on the ground, right? Yeah. Each person has their, our hearts are poured into these communities and the land that we're stewards of for many of us, or the programs, or the young people, and how we share out about that and stay in community with other operators is just really important.
It is. In the infancy of the DAO, it was like, I always wanted to see, like, what would happen when it's, the DAO is like unleashed, it becomes its own little monster. And I really do feel like we're in that moment where the DAO is going to go into the direction that it wants to go collectively. And I would hope I tried to express that in the opening statements that I had made of the event, that even though we have like this steering committee of Jamala and James and Stephen Lucky and myself, like everybody has a hand on that wheel when you're a part of the DAO. And this particular event, this in real life event, gives us that opportunity to kind of like build those relationships and get to know one another, because we got to, like, that is a human thing, what I mean? This is not an AI driven program. This is not bolts and mechanical pieces. This is flesh and blood and feelings, and trust is definitely a part of that, because I can tell you, Kimball, when he started this thing up, he was like, yo, like, I'm rich, dude. Like, I can, get this money out and do it as I wish, But he's like, I'm gonna trust that, I'm gonna give it, to you guys, and we'll work together. I'll be in the I'll get out of the way, but you guys are gonna move this thing in the direction that you see fit, which I think is extremely unique, especially when it comes to philanthropic organizations, because usually they have their hand in it the whole way, and I have not experienced that with the DAO, and it's really driven by us, and I hope that when you leave from here, you have a deeper understanding of what potentials can come from being a part of the DAO.
I think that's so well said, and I think one of what I like also about this model, and we have to start asking ourselves in every new technology that we leverage for good, for the greater good, is, has that technology made our work more humane? And though we are leveraging technologies that are different than tilling the soil, some of the more concrete work that a lot of us on the ground folks know, we really have to ask ourselves, is this technology making the things that we do, the ways that we operate, the ways that we connect, more humane? And if it is not, then I think we need to ask deeper questions about the ethics of that technology. So this is an exploration for all of us, right? And I think really grassroots community advocates and activists need to be part of that conversation, need to be part of that barometer of what we're doing, bringing us closer together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've learned a lot in this post-pandemic era, and one of the things that we now appreciate is the humanism and the connection, and nothing brings together people than good food.
Yes, second that. Yeah.
So yeah.
Shout out to all the pancit eaters out there. If you know what that is, it's a great Filipino dish. Pancit.
Oh yes,
Try
yeah,
it.
great.
Try it.
I grew up with Filipino neighbors. They also had the best U2 cover band I have ever seen. They were like the best neighbors we could have had. They're awesome.
So I gotta ask, that leads us into my next question. In your gardens, whether they be indoors or outdoors, what would your garden sign say?
Know and grow your food.
You know, grow your food, okay?
I think maybe our garden sign would say, taste something, share something.
Taste something, share something. That's deep.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. All right. Well, how can we get a hold of you? Okay. Like if I'm interested in, let's say I'm in, I don't know, the north side of Chicago, and I want to get involved. How do I get a hold of you? And if I'm down in Texas, how do I get a hold of you? I want that type of technology. I want to learn a little bit more about that. How can we get in contact with you guys?
We love visitors, and we have all sorts of events going on. Join our community walking group. We've got harvest days. We'd love to host you. So find us at cultivatehere.org, or you can look for the Academy for Global Citizenship and just see what's happening on the campus, how you can plug in either to the education school side or through our community events. You're invited. You're both invited.
Well, if I'm in Chicago here shortly, yes, I am coming
You
by.
better, Lacy.
I look forward to that. My website is modgarden.com. We also have a foundation, so we have a for-profit arm and a non-profit arm. But if you wanted to reach out, you have my number. Instagram is at ModGarden.
Okay.
Anybody can send a message.
Fresh. Man, you know, I love tech. It scares me. I'm curious about it. It's the unknown, the great unknown, and just seeing how technology has changed over I want to say, for example, I was deployed to Afghanistan, and while I was deployed, the iPhone came out. And when I returned home, I felt like I came out of like a time capsule because I went to a very ancient part of the world, and walking the streets of Afghanistan is almost like walking through biblical times because of all the mud huts, the donkeys. Like rarely that you would see you ain't never gonna see no 7-Eleven, okay? Yeah, unless you're in one of the larger cities, but even that is rare. But coming back and just seeing like just how fast technology has grown, and now we have artificial intelligence in the scene. Like I really want to pick both of your brains about like what do you think about tech and agro-tech especially, and then for both of you because you both deal with it. How do you see AI coming into these particular spaces? Is it do we do it like we did the internet? We just open up that Pandora's box and let it do its thing? Or are we going to be a little bit more responsible and be there holding that AI hand in hand as we rock on into the future? Because it ain't going anywhere as far as I can tell.
So our goals are specifically nutrients to cells. The art of growing food and cultivating soil has recessed a bit, and we want to bring that to the forefront. And so we're going to use technology to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways that we do it, I'll just give you one example. Imagine that there are tiny farms across the world. You're in Denver, you have a tiny farm, you're growing basil. I'm in Austin, I'm also growing basil, and there's somebody in Shanghai growing basil also. The system will tell you if you reduce your temperature by 1 degree, you can improve the mineralization of your basil by 10%. And so we're going to use computer vision and learning to understand how the plant is growing in the soil that is resident to each region.
Ooh,
That's incredible. That's incredible.
That is dope.
That's kind of our vision. Again, it's an attainment of nutrients into ourselves.
So, and you know, as you say temperature, I'm thinking about other things too, right? I'm thinking about wind, I'm thinking about precipitation and the humidity in the atmosphere, you know, wind.
So we're tracking all that, but we're indoors, right? So, okay.
Well, yeah, that's more controlled, obviously. Well, hey, there you go, agro-tech folks. Yeah, I know y'all are out there and you're listening, so this is pretty fresh. How about you?
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, similarly, we see this facility as a teacher and a teaching tool. So the way that technology has really helped us is in much the same spirit. So we are using tech to make the system operations visible to community members and students in a way that's digestible at lots of different developmental levels and demystify what's going on with our resource usage. And we can do this in so many creative, beautiful, artful ways so the technology can track and translate. For example, how many times we've flushed the toilet in a day and how much water we've used from our gray water catchment. And then it can project it on a digital screen that educators can use in their classroom time to talk to our young people about water cycles. How awesome, right? They can walk out to the cistern and see the water that's been collected after the last rain. We can see what our energy usage has been between lights and digital tech in the classroom. And we can set goals with our students about, are we using more energy than we used last week? And really bring some of those structures alive and give teachers another leverage point to talk about how we use our resources, and then also unpack that in lots of very cool ways in the classroom in math and science and all the STEAM subjects. So for us, it is about kind of removing barriers to understanding to some pretty sophisticated systems, both for students and for community members.
Okay. Well, we've been talking really macro, and I wanna touch base a little bit on the micro before we end. I would like you to tell me a little bit about yourself. What got you into this work? Why food? Why education? Why tech? What's so important about this thing? All right.
Yeah, well, I really backed into farming and community-based work. I'd started in the hospitality industry, and really it was a matter of eating beautiful, delicious food, and I needed to understand what differentiated some of the very special meals that I was having from lots of other things that we eat, right? I did not grow up in a food-focused household, single mom, we had lots of processed foods, and as I became older and moved into the industry, I was really experiencing a lot of just beautiful foods. And so I kind of worked backwards to the farm, and I started volunteering at a farm that the restaurant I was running at the time was sourcing from. It was after a hurricane, took my staff out, and we did a little bit of repair work on the farm. And what I loved is that community members would stop by and tell us what we were doing wrong. and I love when strangers talk to me. I love when strangers talk to me. I love when strangers tell me stories about
They
their
said
lives.
you're doing the basil wrong.
Yeah. Oh, no. I learned a lot about Callaloo that summer, and
Okay.
I learned a lot. So we were situated between a West Indian community and a Hasidic community. And the farmers market was just like popping off every week. And you had these two very culturally distinct communities coming together, asking for certain things. And it was an entire education, and I learned so much from these wonderful people who had lots of stories about how they grew things they were seeing on the farm or what they missed, and I completely fell in love with it. I just thought, like, this is the way that I want to connect with my community forever. And I never looked back. I started just learning from much more experienced growers than myself, and put in a lot of years of volunteer work and mistakes, and worked on a bunch of different production farms. And I have to say that's one of the things that really drew me to the Southwest side where we are now is I have to give a shout out to the ladies who walk in our community. So there's this group of awesome ladies who get their steps in every day and just were incredibly welcoming. They stop by the garden. Same thing happening a decade and a half later. I hear about their stories, what their grandkids like to eat, what they want to harvest in the garden. They know when the watermelons are ripe. And it's just this beautiful gift. You learn so much about people.
That is true. That is true.
So my prior life was on Wall Street. I was in investment banking.
Ooh, Lord, there ain't no, the only green that grows there don't grow on trees.
So I worked for the likes of JP Morgan and Merrill Lynch. I spent 15 years on Wall Street. But I was sick. It was sucking my soul. But if I really think about it, my sickness began in my pre-adolescence, and it culminated by the time I got to Wall Street. I remember in my pre-adolescence suffering from headaches. And what do? We pop a pill, we sleep it off, and then life goes on. But by the time I got to graduated university and was working my job, my headaches had become so debilitating that I used to go to the ER and beg for Demerol, codeine.
That's some pretty powerful painkillers.
It was as if there was like a knife slicing through my head. And then there was the eczema. Again, the eczema doesn't start off as full-blown eczema. It begins innocuously, and it did in my pre-adolescence as dry skin. And that culminates with perhaps poor food choices, lifestyle. My eczema was so bad on my palms that when I used to pick up my briefcase, my palms would tear. So fast forward a number of years, I ended up leaving Wall Street in 2007, and I started looking into my own health. And somebody that I love gave me magnesium, and amongst other recommendations. I took magnesium and my headaches went away over a period of a few months. And I'm like, what the heck is magnesium, and where does it come from? The short answer is it comes from food. Well, why am I not getting it? And so I began to look into food, farming, soil, corporations that are growing food, and how it's getting to us, and what I found mortified me. And that became my purpose.
Yeah, I love that, man. It was horrible. But that is like that's a hero's origin story, as well as yours. But just understanding like the power of food and like how, I feel like there was such a missed moment for maybe our even elders to really guide us in this thing. Like we wanted convenience and ease, and out of that we've created additional problems for us, right? And I really do feel like, and this is one of the things that I really like about, well, just Big Green, the Big Green company, is that they want to try to get people to grow food. Like, just grow food.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, we're wasting so much water on grass right now. Like, if you're growing grass right now, I'm like, dude, just let it die.
Yeah.
Zero-scape that thing.
Especially
and
if
throw a
you're here
garden
in
on there.
Denver.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that should have
especially here. Yes.
turn that over.
There's no honoring of the life in the soil, in the land. There's an SDG goal by the UN SDG goals. One of them is life on land. I've changed it to life in land.
I like that.
And understanding how that life impacts our bodies.
100%.
Yes.
That's the
in
living.
very powerful ways.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because, like, we're doing this stuff in green space, this green space warehouse, and we're in an industrial part of Denver, And if you walk the streets, man, it's concrete and asphalt, and it's hot, and it's like the sun hits that concrete, and you squint your eyeballs, you know what I mean? And then like the sweet release that I get from when I step into my little gardens and these little stewarded little green spaces, and I'm just like, oh God, this is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need that nutrients in our bodies, but we also need that beauty.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
We've been having great conversations the last 2 days. This is obviously one of them. But one of the things we got into is just our souls need to see that green space.
100%.
There's nothing more beautiful to me than finding a community garden in a city that's new, part of that kind of city exploration, and you really see people's vision, right? You see what matters to them, you see what they like to eat on their table, what they're playing around with, who's got the flowers, who's got the herbs. It's really just a restorative space, and we need that more than ever.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And it inspires us to eat better. When it's beautiful, we want to eat that.
Exactly. Well, man, we could talk all day.
We could.
I'm using a line from Captain America. I could do this all day. But we got to wrap this up. I just want to let you both know, thank you for sitting down with me today, and we just scratched the surface.
Thank you.
We just scratched the surface, and I really do want to follow up with both of you, obviously, whether it be in podcast form or I just say, yo, what's going on?
Anytime.
Chicago,
Yeah, I hope
where
we
you
do.
at?
I
Texas,
hope we
where
do.
you at? And hopefully you can see a connection between you both, because I see a connection between all of us, obviously, in a way that we can collab together, and the DAO be the vehicle for us to help get us where we want to be. So let's keep that in mind.
Here.
And this is Power Plan. I'm Staff Sergeant Mac,
Kris, Torre.
And I'm Khwaja.
and we'll see you next time. It's dope, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm so
Pleasure.
excited to meet you.